everybody, and welcome to the Pat Jones Show. I'm Robbie Robertson, along with Oklahoma State head coach Pat Jones. This past Saturday, the Cowboys were on the road again and were shut out at 16th-ranked Colorado by a score of 28-0. And Pat, this Colorado defense was ever as good as you said they'd be.
Well, this was a interesting ball game from the standpoint that we had a real hard time handling their defensive unit, which in all honesty didn't surprise me. We certainly turned the ball over more than you can and have a legitimate chance to win. I don't think you can fault the quarterback Porter for all those. There was an exchange right before the half, which we're going to see, where we were basically just telling him to fire it out there, and then we had a couple of balls glance off receivers that ended up getting intercepted. But we couldn't really sustain blocks against them across the board, and they didn't do anything exotic other than line up and play well. We never did have any field position. Interestingly enough, going into the ballgame, I think they were next to last in the country in turnover ratio.
Right.
Now, the only turnover that they had was one that we picked up a fumble and then in turn fumbled it back to them on the same play. So without any real help, it was hard for us to win. This thing probably should have ended up about 14-0 or 17-0. We turned the ball over on our 9-yard line, which I think really knocked us out of an effective chance to win the ball game. And then late in the ball game, they took one down there and knocked it in. Defensively, I thought we played pretty well, Robbie. Offensively, again, hard to sustain things across the board.
All right, let's take a look at the first half highlights. It wasn't a bad day in Boulder, Colorado. We've been there when it's been a lot worse, almost 50 degrees, and a pretty setting for college football. Oklahoma State went on offense first. We punted it away, and we pick it up with Colorado on an impressive first drive for them, Coach.
Well, they took the ball around midfield, and Robbie, we thought they would try to run the ball a little bit more, and they did. They didn't really gash us appreciably, although, again, they didn't turn it over and kind of methodically move the ball down the field. I thought we were going to stop them down in here on fourth down. We had somebody line up off sides right there and gave them a first inside the 5-yard line. Now they go ahead and run this little sweep and get in the end zone, but they had good field position, and we were not unusually alarmed at this point from the standpoint that they didn't really gash us. Now we get the ball back here and start doing a few things ourselves. This is John White, the tailback. John had a wisdom tooth, Robbie, during the week that had really bothered him, and it made him, he was sore, and I don't think he was quite as effective as he has been. Here's Denson on the slot sweep. We do break one of these later on. You can see there, here's a draw play, and John jumps to the outside here, makes a nice run. John fumbled one time up in a pile, and then Denson fumbles later on. The same play we've seen again, which were two big turnovers during the course of the ball game. Roger Franks, the fullback, playing with a broken hand, I think played reasonably well. And again, we played Roddy Wortham and Steve Keith, the converted tight end, in there for a while. Didn't really help us that we had lost continuity with the injuries at fullback. Okay, now here's Porter coming out and throwing deep. Is that the one they had a penalty on, Robbie?
No, sir.
Okay, did not call that. Was my fault. Here's a counter play up inside that it didn't make anything. Again, now we punt them back down to their end of the field. We had made about 3 first downs down in here, and getting Tyner again had a very good day punting, knocked the ball out on the 4-yard line. They come out and I think make a first down, don't they? Then we stop them out.
Well, Colorado has to punt, then we fumble the ball back to them, and so now we've got about 2.5 minutes left here in the first quarter.
Okay, there we go. And John White has fumbled. They tried to run a reverse right off the get. We have him pinned up. They ended up not making any yards on the thing. We had a chance to give him a big loss, but didn't. But again, now they're down here on our end of the field, and defensively, we're going to make a couple of nice plays. There's Keith Burns and Ainsley, who both really played well. Burns, which we'll talk about throughout the course of the show, really played extremely well. Ainsley, I think, played perhaps his best ball game. Now Berger comes in, and they miss a short field goal. Of course, he is their backup kicker. He's the youngster that kicked the long one at the end of the ball game to tie OU. But I did miss that one. Now we've got the ball back.
We move to the second quarter now.
Well, again, here, this is a nice throwing catch by Porter to Culver. Culver continues to play well and make catches. They're really good. Their corners, Deion Figures and Ronnie Bradford, are both really good players. Again, their group is very talented all across the board defensively. Culver, again, now okay, well, this is a fake off of the flanker screen, and it opened up, and Culver almost came out of this and scored. See, again, we're going to fake the screen to Denson, and Culver goes ahead and releases, gets right in behind him, A nice throw, nice catch. Again, they get over there and get him hemmed up, and again, he almost came out of this and scored, but we've got the ball now down with pretty good field position.
We still have to punt it away, and now Colorado's got it at the Cowboy 47.
Well, they were pretty erratic throwing the ball, although they did hit a few. Again, Cordell Stewart started and played the majority of the ball game. They're trying to go deep. Todd Fisher had them covered. They caught one ball for 31 yards on Fisher later on, but that was about all. They throw this one back across the middle. We end up getting a face mask call right there.
Right.
It was 3rd and 20, if I remember correctly.
That's
now
correct.
It ends up being 3rd and 7, and they go ahead and convert this somewhere down in it. Okay, they convert it. Now they slip through us and go ahead and score to make it 14-0. Again, big call there on the face mask again, which was 3rd and 20, but they were really not ever just gnawing us up. They were making some plays, but again, stuff like this, we had people around the ball most of the afternoon. Okay, here they're trying to run up inside and don't make much.
This is about the last 3.5 minutes of the first half, and a pretty wild sequence of plays here at the end of the first
there's
half.
Ainsley and the defensive crew. Is this the 4th down play, Robbie?
Right.
Okay, yeah, they're going for it here on 4th down and inches. Try to run the counter, and there's Ainsley and there's Cornell Cannon. You can see Burns in on. They don't make it. Probably my fault from the regard that we should have just probably run the clock out, but we went ahead and got the 2 minutes and told Gary to go ahead and fire it, and that ball should have been caught. I mean, Fred Thomas, they knocked him around pretty good. You got to catch those if you're going to win a big ball game. Again, that's not Porter's fault right there. Now again, that we get the ball back, and I just told our coaches to, hey, let's go ahead and fire it. My first impression was, we had that ball intercepted and didn't. Yes, you're right. This was crazy right before the half. They get off down here, try to run a sweep, and we throw them for a loss. Again, Elmer Williams, Michael Woolridge, see there's 1:06 left in it. They go back and throw and overthrow this one. Now they try a long field goal here.
This is a 55-yarder
55-yarder, yes, which he hit well enough and missed. We get the ball back with, there's not much time. You can
About
say
56 seconds left.
That little motion I made meant go ahead and fire away, which we did, and Gary did underthrow this one. Culver might have had a chance to get in behind him here, and so there's 48 seconds left, and get him down, men. There, Mike Butler and that crew, and yeah, there was there's bodies all over everywhere here. All right, watch this one, right? This is it, ain't it, Robbie?
Yes, sir.
Boom, oh my goodness. Keith Burns hits Hill, the running back here, and this sounded and look, oh my goodness, that looked from where we were standing, pretty tough here.
Right.
Hill leaves the ball game. Again, Burns continues to really play well. This was a big hit. Now again, there's 18 seconds left. Now they're trying to fire, throw it down there deep. We've got everybody covered. Had a chance to intercept it. Cornell Cannon, Scotty Harmon. They come in and try another siege gun field goal and miss it. And then we turn around now and throw one deep again,
right,
which gets intercepted. We were telling Gary to do that. So yeah, last 2 minutes that thing was really wild.
But once again, your defense out there, and even though Colorado got the ball back, able to hold Colorado and force them into long field goal situations, and you go to the locker room trailing 14-0.
Again, trailing 14-0, and we had done some things. We knew it was going to be tough, but this is still very much a ball game.
All right. We'll come back with second half highlights. Stay with us. The Pat Jones Show continues right after this. Let's get right to the second half highlights. Oklahoma State at Colorado. The wind picks up in the second half considerably, and Coach, it was real important to stop Colorado on their first possession. We pick it up with Colorado at their own 46, but you were able to do that.
Yeah, we get them stopped here. They had made it one first down, and here's Stewart under a lot of pressure, Gilden and company. Again, we had fairly good pressure. We were doing some things using Burns as a pass rusher in long yardage, which is a little bit interesting with his ability. Gilden came in and we think played probably better than he has in the last couple of weeks, and we get him stopped.
Force him to punt.
Force him to punt. We never did. Okay, here's a shuffle pass. We ran it a couple times to Mark Williams, same play again. Okay, there's he flips, pretty good execution there. You can see run inside of one of them. Mark jumps up in the middle of the thing. It's a fairly safe play. Key is that they never gave us a chance really with field position because they just refused to turn it over, which you got to give them credit for. All right, here's Porter again. This is 3rd and 1. All right, we hit a little bit of a crease on the sweep with Mark Williams. Again, Mark did a better job protecting the ball than he has here of late. You can see Frank's playing with that big cast on his hand. Good job by Mike Butler, 75. And Again, good job of Mark Williams running. We've got a first down out of it. So now we're out around midfield. Okay, Gary goes back, throws. Okay, Raphael. Again, you know, we couldn't get the ball to him, and not a real good day. Good catch, Shannon Culver. Again, I can't say enough good things about the way that Culver is continuing to play and getting better. You see, they're manned up on us out there with Figures number 2, who is going to be a first-round pick. Good throw, excellent catch against two good players going at each other right here. All right, Gary goes back to throw. Now, this was a 1st and 10. This was one of the interceptions that, again, you got to probably consider a misread there. I think, so, again, some of those others, you can't really blame him. That one shouldn't have been thrown, but here again, we're stiffing up defensively. Richie Ainsley, who again continues to play well.
After an exchange of punts, Colorado starts this at their own 31.
Okay, and they're coming back. See, they're backed up. Stewart is back to throw. Again, okay, this is the longest play. That was 31 yards, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
That they got down there and caught on us. And again, Todd Fisher and Terry Henley, the 2 corners, made good plays. Right, here's a big play by Michael Woolridge. Cordell Stewart gets out in the open field. 2nd down and 15 here. They go ahead and run the draw. All right, there's Carlos Irving right there, who I thought played pretty well. I think it was one of his better ball games. Okay, now here's Gilden again on a good pressure. That's a way to stay with him, man, and we get him sacked back across midfield. Same play. Again, Matt Parker, number 70, we're playing a little bit more in there. There's Gilden coming up. You can see some pressure. Burns right there, and Gilden. Matt Parker showing up, so good job of getting them stopped again.
We ended up turning the ball over a little bit later, and Colorado got a score to make it 21-0. Now we move to the 4th quarter.
Robbie, the fumble, again, Denson, who is not a fumbler, got loose and had a gash to run through, I think, on our 9-yard line or something when it was 14-0, which I think was really the biggest single play in the ball game. Again, I think that we still very much had a chance there without them helping us. We blocked this field goal, so we got good movement up inside with our jumpers and our interior people. But again, the fumble that we didn't see was real big. This same play again coming up, Carlos Irving and the fellas here, good push, get it blocked, so we're going to get the ball back. At 21, it's certainly going to be hard, as good as they are defensively. When I come back to the turnover at 14, they go 9 yards to score.
We have to punt it away, and Colorado's got it knocking again down there at the 8-yard line.
Well,
but the defense is still playing hard.
Oh, yeah, we played well defense. It was still, again, they run up in here, and here you can see David Brooks and Cornell Cannon and crew off up in here, and so they've got it down on our end of the field. But we put Andy Loveland in again late in the ball game, and in all honesty, we're just trying to kind of get the doggone thing wrapped up and get on out of there. 28-0. Probably should have been, like I say, probably 17-3, 14-0, somewhere around in there. Got a little bit distorted, but again, I thought all year long that they're awfully good defensively, and nothing that we saw out there yesterday did anything to change our mind. It might have made me think that they're even better.
Right. I was going to ask you that any loss is a disappointing loss. I understand that, but were they better than anticipated? And certainly you figure a team that's averaging over 4 turnovers a game that you're going to have an opportunity to get one somewhere along the line.
Well, out there against that kind of defensive unit on the road, yeah, they would have probably had to help us a little bit, and they never did. Proud of our defensive unit. Again, hard to sustain things against them. Sure, you can't turn it over 8 times. The 2 fumbles and probably one of Gary's interceptions were really crucial. And then there's one play that we didn't see in here where Gilden hits Cordell Stewart and the ball comes loose, and Gilden is actually running with it, fumbles the ball. They get it back, which occurred when it was 21-0 at about the 9 or 10 yard line. So realistically, we would have gotten a touch or a field goal out of that. A funny day along with turnovers.
All righty. Stay with us. The Pat Jones Show continues. We'll have the play of the week for you. Pat Jones Show will be back right after this.
The play of the week is brought to you by Southwest Airlines.
Play of the week belongs to Keith Burns. This is the major league hit right here on James Hill.
Boom, right there. Like we talked about, Burns continues to establish himself as one of the premier defensive players in this league and really perhaps in college football. Oh, my goodness. It really does. Watching it did. James Hill's a classy youngster. We had him in here. There's Burns, who's just applauding a good effort. But Hill, we had in here several years ago, who is a nice young man from Colorado Springs. Thought at one time we might get him. But again, Keith is can make so many plays, and he continues to improve. And I know it sounds like a broken record on my part, but when you got a guy with that kind of talent that is conscientious enough to go out every day and put on a performance like what we see in practice, you're going to get better. Now, on the same hand, Colorado was playing with about 11 Keith Burns types of guys on defense, which when you get to that point, it's how you win big, one way. But Burns is his 4th consecutive ball game in double digits in tackles. He's been the defensive player of the week already once in this league and probably could have had it another time or two. But the guy is setting a tone that is really unbelievable, both for himself and our defensive unit. I think his play, it has a lot to do with the competitiveness with our defensive unit has continued to play all year long.
Keith Burns also is the first Oklahoma State linebacker since Sim Drain in 1987 to have over 100 tackles in a single season. So he has certainly brought a lot to the table for Oklahoma State. I'm curious, Pat, Nebraska just kicks Kansas all over the field this past Saturday. That surprised you at all?
Well, not in all honesty, no, it didn't. Again, them going up there and having to play is tough. We got back in time to watch most of the second half. I turned on the radio coming back, and it was 21-0 Nebraska. And then it got to 21-7. I know I went home and started watching on television. It was all downhill after that. Nebraska is really ripping and snorting and have been good all season long. Again, tough duty for KU up there, and KU's got a fairly good football team. I think it'll be a good ball game next week between Colorado and KU. I think Colorado's got better players across the board, but I think it'll be a real interesting ball game there. But Nebraska is the class of the league, in my opinion.
All right, 2 games left for Oklahoma State. We'll have Magic Moment for you when we come back, and then talk a little Bedlam football. The Pat Jones Show continues right after this.
This Cowboy Magic Moment is brought to you by Johnson's of Kingfisher and Chickasha. Jerry Deckard was an all-Big 8 defensive end in 1986. Playing in Lincoln, Nebraska, Deckard picked off a Cornhusker pass and returned it 45 yards for a touchdown. He was named the Big 8 Defensive Player of the Week for his stellar efforts. Deckard had 2 pass interceptions for touchdowns in the 1986 season. Jerry Deckard, another Cowboy Magic Moment.
Oklahoma State did not win that ball game, but Pat, that immediately following that ball game, you kind of got on a roll for the next couple of years.
And that was a nationally televised game. In that series, 84, 85, 86 were all nationally televised and all close ball games. I think and we didn't win that ball game, but I think that propelled us. I think we won like 4 of the next 5 or something like this and finished at 6-5, and I think that momentum propelled us into the 87, 88, the two 10-win clubs of 87 and 88 with what we actually got done there from that ball game on.
Okay, big ball game coming up Saturday, back home again. Bedlam football, the Oklahoma Sooners will be coming to town. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that, again, we went through what we considered the must-win phase of the Missouri-Iowa State ball games here. We go on the road against 2 nationally ranked teams in Kansas and have a chance to win that one. And then at Colorado, probably should have been a closer ball game than that. Now we're back here for the final home ball game of this season. We have not lost at home, which I think is a real point of pride to this particular football team. OU has been a lot like us, somewhat up and down this season. They've had some injuries, had a big win over Missouri, which has got to do their morale good. This particular series tends to take a lot of different twists and turns. That was an even ball game, essentially going into the 4th quarter at Norman last year when we didn't win a game all season long. So again, I think this game for us has got a chance to, I think, set a stage for what obviously will happen the rest of the season and then on from here. But again, it'll be a big one. Emotions run high here for this state, and I think both these squads will get after each other, and I'm sure we're looking forward to it, and so are they.
And there'll be room for you at Lewis Field in Stillwater. Hope to see you there. For Pat Jones and Oklahoma State University, I'm Robbie Robertson. Goodbye, everybody.